All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's training, Correcting Common Data Errors in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. Today, we'll be going over some of the most common errors you may receive when benchmarking your properties in Portfolio Manager. And I do want to point out that this training does assume that you have some basic knowledge of the Portfolio Manager tool and assumes that you have already created a Portfolio Manager account and property record. If that's not the case for you, we do offer an introductory Portfolio Manager training session every month, and this month it will be the 20th of May. So I do highly recommend registering and attending one of those sessions. The links that you can find are in the knowledge base. And with that, let's go ahead and get started with today's training. So just a brief overview of today. We will cover the data quality alerts in Portfolio Manager, the gross floor area and meter data alerts, the Portfolio Manager data quality checker, and more troubleshooting strategies for other common errors in Portfolio Manager. We will also end with a Q&A session, so please feel free to put questions in the chat as they come up for you. I will also be going into screen sharing of Portfolio Manager to walk through some of these steps in real time. So if you would like to follow along, please feel free to log into your own Portfolio Manager account now. And if you end up falling behind as I walk through some of these steps in real time, no worries. We do have a recording of this training session in the Beam knowledge base. And I'm going to go ahead and put that knowledge base link in the chat as well. All right, so I do want to point out that this training is for anyone who needs assistance working through data errors in Energy Star Portfolio Manager and building owners who have specific questions about errors they are receiving when benchmarking for the state of Colorado. And of course, this session is not going to be a catch-all, so if you do have more nuanced questions relating to both Portfolio Manager and Beam, I do highly recommend that you reach out to the Colorado Help Desk, and we will work through any issues you are having one-on-one. So you may have noticed that Portfolio Manager provides helpful guidance in the form of tips, alerts, warnings, and easily accessible definitions that are intended to prevent common data entry mistakes. Tips are provided to help you with specific pages or features. Alerts notify you for potential issues in your property. And alerts do not prevent Portfolio Manager from calculating your metrics. Warnings alert you of critical errors in your property. And warnings do prevent Portfolio Manager from calculating your metrics. So when you do receive a warning in your property record, you should resolve that error as soon as you can. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be doing a little bit of screen sharing to show what these data quality alerts will look like in Portfolio Manager. So the first error we will be discussing today is the gross floor area alert. And as you can see on this slide here, there's a screen grab of the Details tab of a property record in Portfolio Manager. And as you can see here that there is a red exclamation mark next to the property GFA self-reported in the basic information box on that left-hand side of the screen grab. That red exclamation mark is Portfolio Manager's way of notifying you that there is an issue somewhere. However, it's not incredibly informative until you click into that issue itself, which again I will show you in our screen sharing portion in just a moment. But just to give an overview of what we are going to see in the Portfolio Manager tool, when we look over to the right-hand side of the screen grab underneath the heading Property Uses and Use Details, we can see that the property GFA as calculated by Portfolio Manager is 110,000 square feet, whereas that self-reported GFA on the left-hand side is 100,000 square feet. So that gives us an indication that something is not correct and possibly one of the spaces entered in the property use types was overestimated or miscalculated. All right, so now at this point, I will begin going into Portfolio Manager here. And let's head on over to our Details tab. And again, you'll see here that we have this red exclamation mark on the Details tab heading. So this also gives us a great indication that there is something wrong inside of this tab itself. All right, and similar as we saw in the screen grab on the slides, we have those red exclamation marks, one next to the self-reported GFA and one next to the property GFA calculated by Portfolio Manager. And as you can see, again, since these two numbers are not matching up here, that's why Portfolio Manager is throwing that error for us. So in this particular case, we can assume that there was a vacancy in our office property, as you can see in this property use type right here, for 10,000 square feet. However, we did not reflect this change in vacancy square footage in our occupied office property type. This resulted in that Portfolio Manager calculated GFA to be 10,000 square feet higher than our self-reported GFA here in our basic information table. So we're going to have to address this discrepancy issue. To do that, we'll click into the specific property use type to directly edit the square footage. We can do this by clicking on the property use type name itself, or we can use this action drop-down menu on the right-hand side, click into it, and hit Edit Use Details. When we click that, it'll bring us to a page where we can directly edit our use detail values here. And to do so, we'll go ahead and click into the value itself. And since that vacancy value was at 10,000 square feet, that means our occupied office square footage should decrease by 10,000 square feet. So instead of 100,000 square feet of occupied office space, we're going to be at 90,000. And I'll go ahead and click out of that, and you'll see that it changes as so. And of course, because this is a test property and doesn't actually exist, this is a fairly simple change for me to make. However, the properties that you all are benchmarking are, of course, existing buildings. So you will want to ensure that your square footage numbers add up and they are accurate as reflected by your building plans or by measuring your site through a walkthrough, etc. But for the sake of this training, editing this value is no big deal here. And once we have edited our gross floor area value here, I'm going to scroll down on this web page and hit that Save blue button. And I do want to flag that you should ensure that you are always saving whatever changes you make in Portfolio Manager, as Portfolio Manager does not save anything automatically. And you'll notice that once we had hit save here, Portfolio Manager gives us a nice green banner here saying that we have successfully edited the use details for our occupied office property use type. So this banner here, again, gives you a great signifier that you have successfully edited your property type's use details. And these banners do get quite helpful as Portfolio Manager will alert you via banner when you have done certain actions correctly or incorrectly. All right, and you'll see here on our Details tab that the red exclamation mark is gone from the Details tab heading and also next to our self-reported GFA and the Portfolio Manager calculated GFA. So the lack of the red exclamation marks is a great indication that you have correctly changed your Portfolio Manager calculated GFA to correlate with your self-reported GFA. All right, so now that we have solved our gross floor area alert, let's go back to our slides here, and we'll move on to the next type of error, and that is the meter data alerts. So Portfolio Manager will identify any issues with your meter data. Specifically, if you have any gaps or overlaps in your meter entries, those will be called out by the Portfolio Manager tool. And as you can see on this screen grab here, there's really no way you can miss these errors as Portfolio Manager highlights them via big yellow banners with that orange triangle alert symbol we had discussed earlier. And you will also notice that any of the entries of issue are highlighted red. And as I mentioned before, the orange triangle alert does not prevent Portfolio Manager from calculating your metrics, but in cases of missing meter entries and other meter data alerts, this will be flagged in BEAM, which could prevent your building from achieving compliance with the state. So it is best to fix these meter data alerts as soon as possible. Okay, so now let's step back into Portfolio Manager here. And you'll see here, similar as we saw earlier with the Details tab heading, we have that red exclamation mark in our Energy tab heading as well, which again gives us an indication that something is wrong with our energy data. All right, I'm going to scroll down here. And you'll see we have the red exclamation mark once again next to our meter name here. And I do want to point out that if you actually click this red exclamation mark, Portfolio Manager gives you a nice pop-up window describing the problem or problems that the meter is having here. So in this case, this meter has overlaps and gaps. And I also want to point out that Portfolio Manager also gives you hyperlinked FAQs in these pop-up windows. And these FAQs are from the Portfolio Manager FAQ database, and it just kind of gives you some more in-depth information about the error that you are seeing in Portfolio Manager, and it just provides a lot of more in-depth information that can help you mitigate any errors in your property record. So I do recommend heading on over to the Portfolio Manager FAQ database if you do have any more nuanced issues. Okay, now let's head back to Portfolio Manager here. I'm going to close out of this pop-up window, and let's go ahead and head into the meter itself. And we'll do that by clicking the meter name in this table here. And as we discussed earlier on the slides, Portfolio Manager calls out the errors in your meter in these yellow boxes with the alert symbol. And we can see in each of these yellow boxes here that Portfolio Manager gives us a specific error. So in that first box at the top, you'll see that Portfolio Manager says that the electric grid meter number 1 has a gap of 30 days between the dates of May 23rd, 2024 and June 23rd, 2024. And if I scroll down on this page here to our monthly entries, you'll see here that we have the end dates and start dates in question highlighted in red, and Portfolio Manager gives us that yellow box once again describing the issue. So let's go ahead and fix this gap of meter entries between May and June. And to do this, I'm going to scroll down a little bit further on this page, and I'm going to hit this Add Another Entry blue text button. So this will add another entry to the bottom of our meter here, and the dates will auto-populate depending on that last meter entry that you entered into your meter here. But of course, we can go ahead and just manually click into the text box and edit these start and end dates to accurately reflect that gap that Portfolio Manager flagged for us. So that'll be May 23rd, 2024, and then June 23rd, 2024. Now, since this is just an example property, I'm just going to use some random numbers for my energy usage here. But of course, for you, I do recommend going back and checking with your utility bills or with your utility company to find that correct energy consumption for your missing month of energy data. Okay, so I'm going to click out of this meter entry here and scroll down a little bit further on this page and hit that Save Bills blue button since we are changing information on this page here. All right, and you'll see here, Portfolio Manager gives us a nice green banner saying that we have successfully updated our bills. I'm going to scroll down a bit, and you'll see here that we have our data in chronological order with May and June monthly entry being filled out here. And you'll also see that yellow box is now gone, and these end dates and start dates are no longer highlighted in red since we filled in that meter entry gap. All right, so let's take care of this second error that Portfolio Manager is flagging for us in this meter here. And that's that the electric grid meter number 1 has an overlap of 31 days between September 23rd, 2024 and October 23rd, 2024. So let's scroll down here and look at our monthly entries here. And you'll see again, all of the dates that are in error are highlighted in red. And you'll see that we have our first meter entry highlighted in red to be from September to October. And then this next meter entry is from September to November here. So that's where this error that Portfolio Manager is flagging. To fix this error, we will want to ensure, again, that the usage is correct by referring to your utility bills or contacting your utility company. And there are two sort of methods that you can do to fix this. And you can either delete the incorrect consumption entry, and you'll do this by this checkbox here on the left-hand side of the start date. You'll go ahead and select that, and then hit Delete Selected Entries. Or if you just happen to put in the dates wrong for one of your meter entries here when you were entering in your bills manually, say, you'll just go and edit the start and end dates as needed. So we'll say in this case that I accidentally put in September for this start date here when I actually meant October. So I'll just go ahead and change that monthly entry. Click out of it and scroll down here and hit the Save Bills blue button. All right, and you'll see here that Portfolio Manager again gives us a nice green banner saying that we have successfully updated our bills. And I'm going to go ahead and display all years in this drop-down. And you'll see here all of our start and end dates are no longer highlighted in red. There are no more yellow boxes anywhere in our entries. So that's a great indication that our meter is all good to go. All right, and let's head back to our property record here, and we'll do that by clicking the property name here at the top of the page. And you'll see here, again, our red exclamation mark is gone from our energy tab heading here. And if I scroll down a little bit on this page, you'll see the red exclamation mark is also gone from next to our meter name. All right, so let's head back to our slides and continue our training session here. So the next topic I wanted to discuss here is the Data Quality Checker, which is also found in Portfolio Manager. We do recommend using this tool once you have completed adding all of your building and meter information to your property record. So this tool can be found on the Summary tab of your property record in the Data Quality Checker box, which you can see on that screen grab there. And once you open the tool using the Check for Possible Errors button, you can check data for your property record for 1 full year. And once you have run the tool with a property containing a full year of data, the Data Quality Checker will give you a quick overview of any potential issues with your data, along with any provided steps to fix the issue. And this tool is highly recommended by the state to run before you share your property for the reporting year. And this will confirm your property will not have any errors, which will avoid any pending issues that you may have to work with the state on to get into compliance. All right, so let's head back to Portfolio Manager here. I'm going to scroll back up and let's head on over to the Summary tab to get to our Data Quality Checker. To do so, I'll scroll down on this page here and you'll see, similar to the screen grab, it's right here. To go ahead and access the tool, we'll go ahead and click on the Check for Possible Errors blue button. That'll bring us to this page here, titled Data Quality Checker for whatever our property name is here. And this page is where you will select the year ending date to run this checker on. So to check your data for the 2025 reporting season, we will need to check a full calendar year's worth of data from 2024. So our year ending date in that case will be December 31, 2024. And now we'll go ahead and hit Run Checker. All right, and then as you can see here, Portfolio Manager provides any alerts or warnings towards the bottom of this page here. And you can click into either of these warnings or alerts with this drop down right here. And you'll see that Portfolio Manager just provides some more information for you and what you can do to fix the alert. I do want to call out that if the only errors that pop up for you when you run the checker is that the property has no water meters and the property has no waste or material meters, that's totally fine. The state does not require water or waste meters to be reported, so if these meters are missing from your record, no worries there. All right, so now that we have run our data quality checker, I'm going to go ahead and head back to our slides to discuss a few more common errors here. So our first error I want to talk through today is the building has incomplete data in the baseline period. Either change the baseline period or populate data in that period. So to fix an error message like that, we will have to complete all the meter entries for the 12-month period. And in this case, it'll be that full 2024 calendar year in our Energy tab. That second error message is no meters defined. And this occurs when you simply don't have any energy meters set up yet or are not including already existing meters in your metrics. I won't be walking through creating energy meters in today's training session, but we do go through this in our introductory portfolio manager session on May 20th. And we also have tons of resources available in our knowledge base to walk through that process as well. The third error on the slide is building has insufficient meter data to calculate usage during the given baseline period. And this is fairly similar to the first error where you will need to complete your meter data in your Energy tab. Okay, so I want to head back to Portfolio Manager here, and we'll just walk through these errors a little bit more closely. I'm going to head back to my property record by again clicking my property name at the top. All right, so for that first and third error that was highlighted on the slide, I won't get into too much detail on since we already walked through editing your meter entries earlier in this session. But I did want to highlight that second error, which was no meters defined. So there can be two potential solutions to this error. The first solution would be to create meters in your property in your energy tab, which again, I won't be walking through that today, but that can be one solution if you ever receive an error like that on any of your records. So if you already have meters existing in your property and you are still getting this error, I recommend heading on over to your energy tab. And you'll see here on the top left, we have this meter summary box, and this displays the count of meters that are being used in your metrics. So for example, this property here has 2 energy meters total, and then 2 meters used to compute metrics. So if this meter summary box is not showing the correct number of meters used to compute your metrics, then this may be why the no meters defined error is occurring. So to edit the meters used to compute your property's metrics, I'm going to scroll down here and we'll click on this Change Meter Selections blue text, which is underneath the meters used to compute metrics heading. So if I click into that, you'll see we're brought to this page where we can select the meters to include in our property's metrics. And this is pretty simple. You just select and deselect as needed, depending on what meters are most relevant for calculating your metrics for the 2025 reporting season. And then once you make any changes relevant to your record on this page here, you'll hit that Apply Selections blue button. Now that should hopefully fix the error of no meters defined. But if that no meters defined error is still showing up for you when you run the data quality checker, I do recommend contacting our help desk or attending our weekly office hours for more one-on-one assistance, since your situation is probably more nuanced in that case. Okay, so let's head back to our slides here and we'll walk through a few more errors. So the next common error we see is building meter has meter readings prior to original occupancy date. And so the suggested fix here is to go to your Details tab and edit the year built to be before the first meter entry. The second error on the slide is building meter disconnection date is not the same as the meter's last reading end date. And this error can be fixed by editing the date meter became inactive in the basic meter information section. The third error here is building meter has no meter readings. Building meter does not have 12 months of continuous meter readings. So to fix that error, you will need to enter in the full 12 months of data for the baseline period, which in this case would be the 2024 calendar year. And I won't be going through this in the screen share since, again, we went through previously in this session on how to edit your meter entries. All right, and this last error here on this slide is meter data is before the active date. So this occurs when your meter became active date is after the first meter entry. And so you'll need to edit the date your meter became active to be before the first meter entry. All right, so let's head back to Portfolio Manager because I would like to walk through the first, second, and fourth errors. So means active and or inactive. So let's go ahead and tackle that first error, which was building meter has meter readings prior to the original occupancy date. So this can mean that either your buildings you're built is incorrect or the dates your meters became active is incorrect. So I will first show you how to edit your building's year built date. So to do so, let's head on over to our Details tab. And we're going to head into this basic information section here by clicking the Edit Blue button. And you'll see that this page just kind of gives us some basic information about our property record here. And I'm going to scroll down here until we hit this property details box. And you'll see right here, we have that year built prompt and this text box that we can enter our year that the property was built. So this is where you would edit your year built date to be before the meter became active dates for whichever meter is throwing an error for you. So then you'll go ahead, update your year here, scroll down on this page, and hit the Update Property Blue button. Now, to edit your meter's active and inactive dates, we're going to head over to our Energy tab. Now, usually the meter or meters in error will be flagged with exclamation marks, as we saw earlier in today's session. But since we actually don't have any real errors right now, I'm just going to scroll down here and just click into a meter. So in order to edit our meter's active and inactive dates, we will need to open up this basic meter information dropdown. And you'll see here that we have our prompt for the date that the meter became active. And of course, click into it and edit this date however you need to accurately reflect your meter. And then if your meter became inactive, you will then uncheck the still in use box and then enter in the date the meter became inactive in this prompt. Just going to keep my meter still in use here. And I'll save changes. So now let's head back to our slides here. And we'll tackle the last few common errors I wanted to talk through today. So this first error on the slides here is an issue I mentioned previously. And this issue can be totally bypassed as the state does not require water or waste meters to be tracked in order to comply with benchmarking standards. So again, if you see the warning, property has no waste or material meters, or property has no water meters, you can just ignore that. Our next warning here on this slide is that the source EOI appears low or appears high, and this will flag your property in Beam as well for either a high or low source EOI. To bypass this error, I do recommend just going through all of your meters in your property record to ensure that all your energy is being properly represented in your meters and that all energy units are accurate. And I do recommend that you also go through all of those use details in your property because they do get pretty nuanced and that could cause either a high or low EOI for your building record. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's presentation.